Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Kara Burrell. Sometimes I go by nuancehoe, and today we're talking about, of course, Tim Ballard. You know it, you love it. We have Ryan Fisher in the house. Thanks for joining me, buddy.
Hey, yeah, glad to be here.
You guys should
Big
know Ryan
stuff.
by now. He's a former friend, former business partner of Tim Ballard. And Ryan, you're just the end all be all of Tim Ballard knowledge. So thank you for making this podcast with me today. Why don't you tell the folks what they are in store for tuning in to this very breaking news addition to the Timmy Did What podcast?
Well, I heard your intro referencing Taylor Swift. Like we're in a Taylor, because Taylor Swift can be applied to any situation, and that you sent out on Instagram. And you're not wrong. But what it makes me think of is the Taylor Swift 2017 Taylor Swift. Look at what you made me do. Because Tim
Yes.
has been forced to do some pretty extreme measures in charging his former organization that he built, his little baby, with all sorts of accusations and go in the full attack mode, which he does with everybody that has the misfortune of coming across his path. And so we're going to get into that today.
The standard line of Taylor Swift and of Tim Ballard is "Look what you made me do," and some of them are, Grammy award-winning billionaires, and other of them are people who have fallen from grace that nobody else wants to work with ever again. So, same, but different. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is a live stream, so if you can like this video, if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do that right now. This can help push this video out to more people who need to know about fraudsters in their midst, and make sure that Tim does not win his cases and win in the court of public opinion against lots of honest and genuine people who have tried to work hard for the organization and for the cause of ending sex trafficking, and showing that Tim Ballard has just been in it for the money. So hopefully this video can get out to more people. We also have a donor box, we have a Venmo, and we have a Patreon for our podcast. And you can also listen to all of these wherever you get your podcasts. So any donations are super helpful to fund what we do here. But just leaving a comment, leaving a like is also great for the algorithm. So welcome to Timmy Did What? All right. So Backfire Part 4. We've had Backfire Part 1, 2, 3. We've skipped over 3 because that's about Tim's excommunication from the church. Catch us next week and we will go over that video more in detail. But we're skipping right to Tim Ballard coming out in full force against the org that built him up and making a lot of accusations, a lot of calling the kettle black things that had me and Ryan laughing out loud. So this is going to be an actually very hilarious and enjoyable episode. Don't you think, Ryan?
Yeah, he's getting more and more entertaining the longer this goes on. And I used to be in the camp where everything he was saying was just making me so angry. And now I'm finding myself laughing so hard at the stuff coming out of his mouth. It's actually incredibly validating and healing at the same time. Laughter is the best medicine. So we get a lot of that,
especially the validating part, because you're somebody who was stabbed in the back by Tim Ballard. And then when you started to tell your story on my podcast, we've had so many people reach out to you, me, who have had similar terrible interactions, who wanted to do good things in the world, who are trying their best, trying to be integral people. Like a flood of people have come to you, have to come to me to tell us that this is the standard protocol. That's Tim Ballard's MO, is that if you go against him, he will try to destroy you. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not in the position to be able to speak out against them. But for the women in the case, for people who have risked everything to stand up against this monster, we commend you and we love you, but we need more of you too. So if you are watching this and you have also been afraid of Tim Ballard, afraid of speaking out, but you have more stories and personal experience, you can email us down below. at our email, because there's so many people who have emailed us but are not able to put their face on camera and come forward. But we want to be able to continue telling the story, tell it far and wide, and explain what kind of fraudster we're dealing with here. So the more people that we can get on board to explain the story, the better. But Tim Ballard does a pretty good job of showing what a monster he is on his own, taking down the org that he founded that basically kicked him out for various credible sexual assault allegations. So before we start playing this video, Ryan, can you give us a recap and a timeline of where we are right here for the average viewer who just tuned in and they don't know the downfall of Tim Ballard thus far? Just kind of bring us up to speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to keep up mentally. I'm still not processing the attacks that he did just a few weeks ago with the Mormon church. But so, yeah, we need to recap. He started out, first off, OUR ousted him, fully fired him after an internal investigation. He he separated from OUR, his baby, the organization that he founded, that I was part of founding, and they had an internal investigation into his sexual misconduct, into donor misuse of funds, misappropriation of funds, all sorts of other stuff. That internal investigation not only resulted in the settlement with some women that we don't know the details about because it was settled and the details were kept under wraps by the lawyers, but
and that
also
part has made him pretty angry too, right?
Yeah. He's not happy about that.
The OUR has settled in some capacity.
Oh no, I'm talking about the first settlement with some other women that we don't know about.
Okay.
Internally with OUR, but then he's also come out, as you pointed out, with he's announced that OUR has settled with some of the women who have recently made the accusations of sexual misconduct, sexual assault against him. And that is, of course, infuriating him to no end. And he is now trying to project that this narration that OUR trying to do right by the women and settling with them is akin to supporting ISIS. That's what he's saying on his Instagram, that that they are aligning, they're sending resources to people that he equates with ISIS. He calls them the Mortensen Mafia, which I love that term. It's so hilarious.
Just imagine like an older Mormon man. Mormon, I mean, like Mormon in theory. Alan Mortensen, one of the lawyers.
Picture a snake president.
Like, just imagine just like a nice, sweet, docile man who's an attorney for, a couple decades, and that he is the ringmaster of all of these evil pedophilic cabal, and it's the Mortensen Mafia that we're in apparently too. So you're in it for sure. So go ahead.
Yeah, Mortensen Mafia aligned with ISIS. Who's attacking Druze and Christian people in Syria. I mean, you got to watch our past episodes to get up to speed on the conspiracy. It goes deep. This rabbit hole goes really, really deep. So getting back to the timeline, ousted by OUR, formed his own organization, Spear Fund. Wasn't successful at that. Joined Aerial Recovery. He did that for a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe two. Aerial Recovery, they split. We've had some people from Aerial Recovery reach out to us. We know a little bit more about the story, and we're going to put that together. That's a really fascinating story. Aerial Recovery also happens to be under investigation right now for fraud, for misappropriation of funds. The CEO is being investigated on that, and I suspect will probably be facing charges. Somebody that Tim was buddy with. Aerial Recovery kicked him out. They're done. He's launched Tim Ballard Foundation now. So I don't know. Are we on like the fourth or fifth iteration of this guy? I don't know. I've lost track. He's jumped around from different names all over the place. And but last episode we did, we highlighted his falling out with the Mormon Church, how he then, he was a baby, he was a darling of Deseret Book, absolute #1 author for many years with his Hypothesis series of books. He was promoted probably more than any other celebrity as being Mormon. He was a poster child for being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in with Elder Ballard, in with very influential members of the Quorum of 12 Apostles. And then he got excommunicated, made some demands against the church that they retract his excommunication, that accused them of election interference, accused them of trying to take him out politically. It was a political hit job, his excommunication and all that stuff. And that the church is being ran by a deep state cabal led by the PR person, Doug Anderson. And he demanded a retraction of the statement to Vice News denouncing him, a reinstatement of his temple recommend and membership, and threatened to expose them for their complicit, institutionalized sexual ritual assault that is happening within the church if they didn't comply with his demands. He threatened them with all that stuff. So he turned on the church that he loves, that he's trying to save, that he's protected. The very church that his psychic, Janet Russin, was also prophesying that he would one day become the prophet and president of, in addition to becoming the president of the United States. So he still wants to see that happen. I think he probably still believes that that's going to happen because he's a true servant. Man, there's so many weeds to sift through here. So our last episode, we talked about that and how he came out in full on attack mode with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And now he's in full attack mode against his own organization, his baby, Operation Underground Railroad, which has now been rebranded as OUR, Our Rescue. And they have been trying to shake the stink off of themselves from this guy for so long, and he's just not letting it happen. So he's going in full attack mode. And this is Backfire, episode 4. The conspiracy against Tim Ballard goes even deeper, and his own organization was infiltrated and is doing all sorts of fraudulent things, but he's going to save us all from the lies.
All right. So in summary, Mormon Church was good until Tim Ballard got kicked out. Now bad, full of pedophiles and satanic sex abuse. OUR was good until Tim Ballard got kicked out. Now it's full of fraudsters who don't want to save kids and are in collusion with ISIS. Did we get that? Mm-hmm. So everything is good until, kind of reminds me of just, divorced dad syndrome. Like if him and Catherine ever broke up, he would be throwing her under the bus too, as long as he's, in a good relationship with somebody, everything's fine and dandy. So make your own inferences from your personal life, viewers of people that like this. All right. So let's,
before we jump into that, we also need to make an announcement about Troy.
We do. Unfortunately, a member of the Tim Ballard sphere, you could say, has passed away. Troy Abels, who runs the podcast Last Dispensation that we've covered quite a bit on our show, and longtime friend of Tim Ballard and a pro LDS podcaster, passed away suddenly last week, I think, due to what, we are not sure, but that's really sad, and we are of course very sad that such a nice man has passed away before his time, before we could roast him further. Just kidding. But was really shocked by that news, and thoughts, prayers to his family. And I wish he was still around. Really unfortunate to see a guy like that pass away so suddenly.
Yeah, he went off on us. He called you the new one. What do you call you? I can't remember what he called you. I won't bring it up. Anyways, he was very not friendly to us. And beautiful and so articulate. Yeah, nuance duo. That's what he coined us, and he called me Rai
Oh,
Rai
yeah.
because I think he was referencing how we were
Call
calling him
Tim.
Timmy.
Timmy.
So
Yeah.
then he started calling me Rai Rai. I don't know. Spread a lot of lies. Said he talked to my family and stuff, and so that's not fun. However, I totally see him as a victim of Tim Ballard's manipulation. Also, he's in the same
Sure.
camp that I was and everyone else. And so he has my sympathy. His family has my sympathy. Losing their dad and their father, that's horrible. So I really wish his family all the best through this trying time.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about more about last minute dispensations. We've actually been planning some episodes about in response to some of the interviews that Tim did with Troy, where they directly attacked us and stuff. And so we'll get to that at a later date. In the meantime, we just wanted to let you know this development. Troy, who was Tim's biggest supporter, like one of the last podcasters that would actually give him a voice, is no longer able to give him a voice. So as a turn of events, a plot twist I didn't see coming. But anyways, just wanted to make you aware of that, and thoughts and prayers go out to Troy's family.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we
Part
can get
4.
into part 4. Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to part 4 of our rescue fraud. I left Operation Underground Railroad over 2 years ago. The reason you don't know that has to do with a story that's so big it's going to be a movie called The Cost of Freedom, a true story based on a lie. And today I'm going to give you a sneak peek and tell you all about liability, civil and criminal, that people at our rescue continue to carry. Kids are dying because of it, donors being defrauded because of it. And February 11th, you're going to get an invitation. You're all invited. If you email the classactionrescuefraud.org info you will be invited, and you'll learn the whole story in Washington, D.C. on February 11th. Washington, D.C. is our rescue fraud rally, okay, at the executive. There's actually several days. You're going to see the film Hidden War, and we're going to expose what is absolute criminal and civil fraud being conducted and has been conducted upon you. And we're going to expose criminal and civil allegations that might just make you realize that you have been defrauded and kids have been hurt, raped, and killed because of it. We have some important updates to give you. Here I'm in Malibu at the producer's house for Sound of Freedom 2 and 3, both are funded. And they're writing this story, and increasingly it's becoming more and more about the people at our rescue. If you watched my other episodes, please watch them. They sailed through Christmas. I couldn't believe it. Knowing that they had stolen money through buying ads in my name while defaming me, and the child body count is just going up and up. It's unbelievable that they could, with their conscience, go through Christmas and not do the right thing.
All right. He's making a lot of claims, a lot of allegations here.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot is
the
happening.
Fire hose of accusations is just full bore right out of the gate. Like, I love how he opens this as saying it's a story. What do you say? A true story based on a lie, or a true story based on a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Perfectly describing everything that's ever come out of his mouth. Like mixing truth and lie in ways. Yeah.
I need more analogies, like pot calling the kettle black. Like, if you guys in the comments know more to expand upon that theme, that's what we're dealing with here. But apparently there's going to be a rally February 11th. It's the day after my birthday. Don't forget to wish me a happy 37 next month. But apparently a rally is happening, and he's going to talk more about that. And he's got Sound of Freedom 2 and 3 funded. And what's shocked me to no end is that he has, like, in the midst of the Epstein files, 1% at least being released, people are losing all of their faith in this government, that it seems to be run by billionaire pedophile cabals. And Tim Ballard, the anti-trafficking guy, instead of paying attention to that and actual victim stories and the cover-ups and the people that he's friends with and he supports that have been named in the files, that have been named thousands of times in the files, use your best judgment on who I'm talking about and who Tim Ballard supports, instead of actually going after the biggest story and the biggest expose of the inner workings of our country and exactly how, blackmail works with using the bodies of children to trade back and forth. Instead of going after that, Tim Ballard is talking about his problems and how the organization that he wants so badly, to be funded and do good things, his organization, he can't quite do that yet because he has to complain first about his last organization 3 organizations ago that kicked him out for all the sex abuse allegations. He's got to get these, everything tied up in a nice bow, and then maybe he'll go and talk about the Epstein files or talk about other, confirmed sources of child exploitation. But this one is his top priority. And might we add that he never, I don't know if you made this point before, Ryan, but he was really big on exposing the LDS Church for having all this child satanic ritual abuse. Stone cold silent on that now. So
yeah, I guess it cleaned up on its own or something.
Yeah, that was a big headline. That was what he wanted to expose for a while, but now he wants to expose this one. And where Sound of Freedom won, for all of its faults and everything good and bad that it did, it at least started a conversation about sex trafficking, you could say. But he doesn't want to start a conversation in his second movie about sex trafficking. He wants to talk about the fraud and how he was basically personally victimized in the next scripts for the next movie. So he said that his chief villains of Sound of Freedom 2, he said before in other videos, is Krista Casey. So a normal soccer mom who worked for OUR that has sexual assault allegations against him. Chief villain. So first Sound of Freedom, Colombian drug lord, putting kids in shipping containers and sending them into the jungle. I get you. Scary, scary. Second Sound of Freedom, Krista Casey. And also, as he will get into, Jeff Frazier. People who work for OUR or are on the board who at some point dedicated their entire lives to stopping sex trafficking. Those are the ones that he is expecting to craft into some script that people are going to go in droves to the movie theater, chowing down on their popcorn, being like, oh, I'll never trust another soccer mom from Utah again. So this will be fun. This will be fun with his script writer from Malibu. He probably just went to the beach and just set up a camera. I have my doubts on the validity of any of this. Okay.
I love the comment. Kathleen Lamb 597 says, raise your hand if you were personally victimized by Krista Casey. as if she left a wake of victims that need
Tim
to be
Ballard
dealt
and
with.
Tim Ballard only. I know.
Yeah, Tim Ballard only. But I also
and Doug Anderson too.
Oh, and Doug Anderson, right? Yeah, names that nobody knew. Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty hilarious. I can't help but point out, and everybody that's been watching this is probably like, hey, wait, are we watching a rerun of a previous podcast? Because Tim gets out on the video and is like, this person is bad, and they are causing multiple kids to be groomed and raped on a regular basis, and I'm going to put a stop to it. And his script and the stuff coming out of his mouth accusing that multiple victims are being horribly victimized in some horrible way because of, it's like a Mad Libs, fill in the blank. Kelly Suarez, Krista Casey, Celeste Boris, Doug Anderson. It's just it's like a Mad Libs he's got that he just fills in the blank with whoever he's pissed off at the moment. They are causing kids to be victimized. And now it's just another reiteration of the same BS coming out of his mouth as 20 videos ago. We're telling the same story over and over. And but this isn't a rerun. We got to make it interesting. This is a new iteration. Yeah.
Drinking game. I have some kefir here. Ryan, what do you got? Anything?
I have some coffee. That's
okay.
Creamer.
Close enough. If you're watching this later at night, you guys can have an adult beverage, but it's 11:30 in the morning here. We'll make it more interesting. Drinking game. Every time he says children, you know how he goes that are getting in the way of saving children. So every time he calls out this messianic, call and need to save children, and he puts that on the pedestal. Take a drink. Okay, guys?
Get a lot of drink.
Get a lot of drinks. Okay. Back at it.
but they chose not to, and the consequences are getting worse and worse. I understand that the board is saying, we didn't do this. Well, you might not have known about it, but now you have known about it, and every day that goes by, the liability, criminal and civil, increase, and it's about to increase significantly. But I'm going to actually tell you about Sound of Freedom 2 and 1, because the story kind of is bookended by those events. When Sound of Freedom was produced and finished, you guys might know this, it sat on the shelf for 5 years. No one wanted to touch it because child crimes is so pervasive throughout the world, and they knew that if I got elevated to a place where I could do more and our teams could do more, it was going to be a bad day. So we finally got it out because Angel Studios had the courage to do it. Hidden War's coming out this month through Angel Studios streaming, so pay attention. And so allegations started coming at the first whisper of the movie coming out, and they were false allegations. The person who made them, I forgive this person. I know why. And I had already been talking about leaving OUR. I had left before in 2019 for the same reason, but we had the Sound of Freedom coming out. I was going to run for Senate, and it was not right for the donors to fake and pretend I'm doing things I'm not doing. That's a theme throughout this. And so I talked to.
So he's saying that he left OUR the first time and the second time based on his own integrity, that it wasn't right to the donors to do things that he said he wasn't doing. You know, he's busy. And so that's why he moved over to Spear Fund and then got donations that way. Yeah. And he wasn't too busy to run Spear Fund, and he wasn't too busy to run Aerial Recovery, and he's also not too busy to run the Tim Ballard Foundation. Tim, we see through this lies. You got kicked out because of the sexual assault allegations and an internal and external investigation that proved that you were a huge liability. And you got a severance package. They booted your butt out. You still had plenty of control over OUR, over all of its operations. I don't know exactly when that severance agreement ended or how that, relationship changed over the last couple of years. Insiders, email us if you want to give us more information. But he was booted out for obvious reasons, but he wants to act like it was so integral of him that he has such a commitment to the donors. Also, spending thousands, if not millions of dollars on prostitutes. The story that you all know and love. Ryan, any insights?
Oh no, he's leaving out major details to the story. He just won't even mention the sexual assault allegations that became public, that were all over the news, that or his excommunication. He's just leaving out the most important parts of the story because it doesn't look good, and he wants to put blame somewhere else, on someone else, that he had no part with him being ousted, with him leaving, with him being forced out. By the first time, it was mostly his family members that were on the board. He stacked the board with loyalists, stacked the board with family members, and they finally got to a breaking point. They're you got to go, dude. We can't protect you any longer, and still keep the organization afloat. So yeah, he's leaving out those major storylines, but we know, everybody else knows, and so we're seeing through it.
And may I just add, every time we get a little piece of intel that I'm allowed to share, I love to give you guys exclusives. So I did hear that Tim Ballard is not as tough as he seems. As we know, he has his right-hand woman, Janet Russin, who I call his Ghislaine Maxwell to his Jeffrey Epstein, basically. And she is his personal psychic who has helped him get revelations on various things, talking to not the dead prophet Nephi, but his grandfather, Nephi Anderson. Lots of things about the rearranging of the board and who should be in charge and how to take back leadership of OUR. He's also leaving out that part that, when he did come back after 2019, back into OUR after being ousted from his family, it was by revelation of his psychic. And so I just want you to picture this image of Tim Ballard being this tough guy telling you this one story. But what we have heard recently is that Tim, when he's feeling really stressed, he lays his head down on Janet's lap and she just pets his hair and gives him revelations and reassures him that he's God's number one favorite big boy and everything's going to work out okay, and that all of his enemies will be destroyed, and that if he needs a little ketamine, she could probably go acquire some, stuff like that. But just picture Tim with a nice Mormon psychic lady patting his head like a dog when he's not feeling like the champion that he purports to be. So just a fun little story for you guys.
I know that's been on my mind too. We were told that recently, and I can't get that image out of my head of Tim laying on Janet's lap with his hair being stroked, being told whispered prophecies about becoming the president of the United States and that all things will work out in your favor. That's such a different image of Tim than what he portrays himself as, when in reality, he's just Janet Rustin's lapdog.
Isn't that just quite the divergent image? Okay, should we get back into it?
Yeah.
So many. It's a fire hose of stuff.
Talked to the board, and they said, let's just let this thing go, and you're leaving anyway, and so on and so forth. It was a very peaceful deal. Severance. They can't say a thing about me. I can't say a thing about them. They violated it. The severance agreement is dead. So I'm speaking out because kids are getting hurt and donors are being defrauded. Okay. So let me tell you from that point on what happened. The board passed off to another board, and they immediately hired Tammy Lee, who will likely end up in prison, I think, when the IRS, they're reviewing everything. You'll see what she did. But it actually starts with another person, a person I consider. I told him to his face, because I'm Matthew 18 compliant. Stay tuned. You're going to want to hear, I have a really important message from the good book that will save your life. But this person, his name is Jeff Frazier, the villain of my narrative, my family's narrative. And I told him that to his face because I believe in being Matthew 18 compliant. I thought he would do the right thing, but he's clearly not capable of doing the right thing. And so the Sound of Freedom 2 opens up with Jeff Frazier. It's an incredible story. Jeff was doing some really good humanitarian work in Haiti. He was kidnapped in Haiti. I jumped into action. I filled a suitcase full of $100,000. His wife we were talking to her every day. My wife, Catherine, was calling her, praying with her. Catherine had just helped them get their 2 kids in Haiti adopted. So, we thought we were really good friends. Catherine especially had done so much, and here I was putting $100,000 to get him out. He gets out and didn't return the favor, okay, when I got hit. What he did was he took over the board. The old board left. But Tim says, Jeff and the others, the lawyers told us to do this. No one talked to me, okay, except for one board member who told me the game plan. Just let it go, and so forth. And I didn't care because I had to leave anyway. I couldn't run OUR and promote Sound of Freedom and run for Senate. So, but they weren't Matthew 18 compliant. No one talked to me. They made conclusions out of fear of man over God. Okay. So the movie opens up with this new board.
Just wanted to add, maybe fear of you, Tim. We've heard lots of stories how you're throwing laptops, screaming at people. You're not a really calm guy. So, anyone who's dealt with like a violent, angry narcissist knows what it's like when you tell them like, hey, your violent, angry narcissism is a little bit too much for this anti-trafficking organization, not to mention all of the sex crimes you're alleged to have been doing within this organization. I don't think they like this whole Matthew 18 compliant. What about like, I don't know, just being Jesus compliant, like turn the other cheek and mourn with those that mourn and do unto others as you'd want done unto you. Like he wants to obfuscate all of like the actual Jesus teachings for like some obscure, DNC references about like the way that his excommunication trial could have gone undone. Could we just say like, Tim, people were really scared of you, as they should be, because this is what you do. You go after people in this kind of public forum. Imagine what it's like in like a closed boardroom. Are you flipping tables? Are you screaming at people? Are you saying that you're going to go cut their brakes? Like people are afraid of you, obviously, for good reason, that you'll take them down. So, anyway.
Yeah. So now the new Mad Libs for Tim Ballard, the person that's causing all
Jeff Frazier.
The children to be victimized, and who is the new villain of Sound of Freedom 2 and 3, apparently, is Tammy Lee. But she's been superseded by now Jeff Frazier, who, I've heard all about the kidnapping story in Haiti, and there's a lot more to it. Maybe we'll go into that at a later date. I actually have some people that I'd really love to get on the podcast that can tell us all about how that went down. But you notice how he says that, he says, I got $100,000 together to get Jeff Frazier out of this kidnapping situation. He didn't return the favor to me. If you look at all of his comments, what it all comes down to here in this entire video is money, is who's getting the money, who's getting the credit, but mostly who's getting the money. And that's the underlying theme of all of his accusations. But he'll like try and misdirect you on like, well, the reason he needs the money is because he's trying to save the kids and OUR doesn't save kids. And so he's full on like throwing OUR under the bus, that they aren't saving kids. And that's why they shouldn't have donor funds go to them, that it needs to be going to him. And so, yeah, Money is at the root of this entire rant. And I love that in previous videos, he was making threats to Jeff Frazier. And he's like, but I think Jeff is a good dude, and I know he's going to do the right thing. It turns out apparently Jeff didn't do the right thing in Tim's eyes, didn't succumb to his bullying and meet his demands. So now Jeff gets to be the main character and main villain of Sound of Freedom 2. And this is how Tim uses things. He'll use people in a way that he'll threaten them and to give them what he wants. And if they don't, then he'll try and embarrass them publicly. He just uses whatever he can about the situation to manipulate people. A good one that I was witness to is when I had a meeting with Elder Ballard. On one occasion, it was with me, Tim, and John Moreland, who was just this in 2016, the brand new CEO of OUR. And I had never met John. I didn't know. I'm like, where's this guy come from? I asked him, I'm like, why is this guy? Who's John? And like, why is he coming to this Elder Ballard meeting? And Tim straight up just said, well, John's got a private jet. And he said that I could use his private jet whenever I wanted. So he gets to meet Elder Ballard. So he's like using the situation to manipulate people to get his own ends. He was using John to access his private jet, even though John had no nonprofit human trafficking experience whatsoever. And now he's trying to manipulate Jeff Frazier, the subsequent leader of OUR. If he can't get something from him, then he'll threaten him with public humiliation. And it's so obvious that that's all he's doing. So obvious. And I don't know how he doesn't see how obvious it is, his manipulation and what he's doing. In previous videos, he's like, I know Jeff Frazier is a good man. I'm sure he'll do the right thing. And he's demanding that the money that went to OUR through the search engine optimization, the ads they were running, be sent to him. Well, he didn't get the money. He didn't return the favor, as Tim puts it. So now Jeff Frazier is villain number one, the main character in Sound of Freedom 2. But
when he
Jeff,
says,
if you're watching, it's an empty
threat. Go ahead.
Yeah.
There usually are empty threats. Yeah. When he says that Jeff Frazier didn't return the favor, what does he mean by that?
Yeah, it's money. I mean, the favor was Tim getting $100,000 to give to his kidnappers. And that whole story is so shady. Like, I don't know. I'm still trying to piece together all the details. But return the favor is Jeff didn't have us back in the board meeting. And now he was demanding that Jeff give him the money that donors sent to OUR, thinking that Tim was still at OUR, and the money that OUR got, or our rescue, based on the search engine optimization ads that they're running, where if somebody would search Tim Ballard's name and then they'd be rejected to our rescue. And so Tim was demanding that all that money be sent to him. And so that's part of what Tim means in returning the favor. It's like, I got $100,000 for him, and needs to be giving him money also. It's all about money at this point. Money and credit. Those are the two things Tim cares about most.
Right on. Great points. Thank you so much, Ryan. All right. Let's learn more about Sound of Freedom 2 and 3.
Board and the chief of the board, Jeff Frazier. Jeff Frazier, after we got him out of hell, really, he takes the position against me on the board. Crazy. And he writes a statement to Vice News, the pro-pedophile at that time owned by George Soros, and called me mentally ill. And then he said all these lying women who...
Let's read this for a sec. So documents obtained by Vice News show anti-trafficking activist Tim Ballard claimed that a revered and powerful figure in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints played a secret central role in Operation Underground Railroad, or OUR, the organization Ballard founded. Insiders who spoke to federal and local investigators as part of a since-closed criminal inquiry described Ballard claiming that OUR and his personal business ventures were backed by a senior member of the highest leadership body. We know this already. Quote, Tim is fully convinced that he's supposed to be the Mormon Messiah and lead people back to the church. Read notes from the interview between criminal investigators and a former OUR higher up, apparently Jeff Frazier. He doesn't call him mentally ill. I mean, that would be nice, but do you think that he actually goes on in that article to call him mentally ill? Because I've never heard him say that.
Yeah, no, I think he does. It's in my mind somewhere that I've seen that. I read that. But just put this in context. We just covered a few weeks ago or a month ago, John Lines, who was the chief operations manager for OUR, called Tim completely unqualified for his role, and that he was more interested in storytelling and movie making than actually rescuing kids. Then we have the CEO, Jeff Frazier, calling him mentally ill. Like, Tim, like, why are you putting this in your video? This does not make you look good. As far as everybody's concerned, nobody has any reason to doubt Jeff Frazier's motivations or his analysis of you, and it looks really bad. He's such an idiot for like bringing attention to Jeff Frazier calling Tim mentally ill. It just shows you how convoluted his mind is, and that he's just not even thinking logically, let alone helping his case in any way. So thank you for pointing that out, Tim. Mentally ill, according to Jeff Frazier. That's just another OUR insider that worked with him on a daily basis that has come to the conclusion that he is not who he claims he is. He's mentally ill, completely unqualified for his job, is more interested in self-aggrandizement than actually saving kids. So you make our point for us.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that Jeff Frazier has also said that we can get into in a minute, but let's keep listening to Tim talk.
Many are going to jail, and I promise you they're going to lose everything. He said he says he's been trained to believe women first, okay? Is that a good policy? So I actually said to Jeff, I said, so if your wife questioned you about a false allegation, are you going to maintain that standard? You're going to tell her, well, you have to believe them. You have to, I'm innocent, but you have to believe them. Okay, but he just, without even talking to me, not even getting my side of the story, goes out publicly and says that. Now, at the same time he's doing that, he's hiring Tammy Lee.
Okay, pause. Can everyone just take a second? That is the most obnoxious analogy. Wow. So Tim is saying that the women like Celeste Boris, his executive assistant, traveled with him, who has a litany of emails and evidence. There's Kira, there's Sasha, there's Krista Casey, there's
Mary.
Bree Ryder. The list goes on and on. Those are just the ones that have come out publicly, but there's plenty of unnamed people as well behind the scenes. So all of these people who worked for OUR, who in some capacity believed in Tim and his message and the mission to save sex trafficked kids, were willing to put their lives on the line. A lot of them untrained to go into sex parlors and all kinds of horrendous situations, very much untrained and unqualified to do this, but believing that Tim would protect them and keep them safe. That didn't happen. And then, allegations upon allegations, evidence upon evidence of Tim using the couple's ruse to abuse them and manipulate them throughout all of these situations to save the kids, right? So internal and external investigations, people who can use their own eyes, you can look at the evidence and you can see that Tim was clearly doing something bare minimum, not keeping his marital covenants to his wife, all the way to grape. So that's the far end spectrum. Everybody within OUR knows that, okay? That is what the investigation is. And Tim is using an analogy saying like, hey, Jeff, buddy old pal, person that I got out of Haiti, that I saved from being kidnapped. These women that are alleging all these things against me, you're really going to believe them? Leader of a sex trafficking organization that has a reputation to uphold, you're really going to believe all of these dozens of women within the organization over me, your buddy? What would happen if you could possibly get allegations like this? Me, you, we both work at this organization. We're both two innocent guys. What if you, another innocent guy, got an allegation that you did some sexual misconduct? Are you going to tell your wife, believe all women and believe these lying whores. Like, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim. That is not how things work. Also, we got a super chat. Thanks, Hattie the Batty, for the $2. Are you sending those in English pounds to us?
Yeah.
Jolly good day. Thank you so much. Keep those super chats coming, guys. Anyway, I'd love to hear more of the comments. Like, I just can never grasp how somebody who claims to be fighting sex trafficking, who he says nobody was talking about it before, and people, they didn't want to put the Sound of Freedom movie out, and it was shelved for 5 years. No one wants to have this conversation. Tim, you don't want to have this fucking conversation. You don't want to have a conversation about what leads people to be manipulated and what actually causes sex trafficking. You don't want to understand the psychology of, rapists, people who actually perpetrate and cause harm against women and children, because you are of their same ilk. You don't want to understand it. And so all you do is talk about the plight of children, put yourself on this pedestal, act like you're the Messiah so nobody can touch you, but you don't actually care about women and children for this very thing that you think that you have forwarded the narrative on. Like, you're not the guy. You've been a faker this entire time, from your CIA background of just pushing papers to just making films, going down to Haiti to try to rescue Gardy Marty that equated to absolutely nothing, and then making a feature film based on lies. You have made an entire career and made millions of dollars based on a lie, but you don't actually care. And this proves it. He doesn't know what believe all women even fucking means.
Yeah, as Hattie the Batty put it, he's completely lost the plot. You're absolutely right. He's lost the plot. The plot is the motive is like to try and save kids, and he's constantly talking about the movie. He's like the Sound of Freedom 2 and 3, and he's weaponizing the movie to embarrass his critics. I mean, honestly, like, this is kind of the same thing that Trump's doing right now with trying to purchase Greenland and Denmark refusing or resisting that. Then he sends the Prime Minister of Denmark text that, well, since you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, then I'm not inclined to do anything related to peace. And so we're going to have to do this the hard way. Trump is weaponizing. And I'm implementing 10% tariffs that are going to go to 25% in February 1st. He's weaponizing tariffs to embarrass and try and coerce his critics into doing what he wants. I mean, Trump, you've lost the plot. You completely lost the plot. The plot is, trying to structure the world in a way that's going to be peaceful and beneficial for everybody. But his personal grievances are getting in the way of that, to where he's taking out and weaponizing the tools that he has resourced to attack his critics. Tim's doing the same thing. Like, he's completely lost the plot. The plot line should be, how am I going to rescue more kids? But nope, he's using Sound of Freedom 2 and 3, which probably will never get made, to attack and criticize his critics and try and embarrass them. It's like, it's so juvenile. I mean, we see through it, but I don't know. It's so juvenile. I don't know what else to say.
Right. And just like all of the things that Trump is doing, that every time there's a headline about Minnesota or Greenland, I want people to say, okay, and there's riots in the streets because of, ICE protests, which is obviously because Trump is trying to stoke animosity between Americans right now, because he wants people to not pay attention that he's in the Epstein files. The same thing, like, he wants people to talk about Greenland. He wants the news cycle to continue about everything except for the fact that he is supposed to have released all of the Epstein files by now, but he hasn't, because he knows they just send him. The same thing goes for Tim Ballard. He's guilty as sin. Another Taylor Swift reference. And he is trying to keep the news cycle and people talking about anything except for, his actual crimes. So it is an old playbook. Okay.
Classic misdirection.
Classic. Yeah. We got you figured out.
Part of the bite model, Which one? Which acronym? I don't know. There's one in there that's classic misdirection of
information control, thought control.
Yeah.
Emotional control. There you go. Yeah. If you guys don't know the bite model, Stephen Hassan, fantastic cult researcher.
Rock
Had him
star.
on the podcast a couple times. Close personal friend of mine. Okay. All right, Timmy.
And oversees her actions, and he is responsible. The board is responsible for everything Tammy Lee did, and most of the crimes that I can see are right here. Now, what they start doing is buying ads in my name while defaming me. They start buying ads in my name, Google ads, so that when you Google my work, you will be taken to Our Rescue. They changed the name to Our Rescue. So apparently, I was mentally ill enough for Jeff Frazier and the board and Tammy Lee to support a statement publicly about that, but not quite mentally ill enough for them not to steal my name because they liked the work I was doing and they wished they could do it. They fired most of the boots on the ground. That's why we started Operation Underground Railroad. They fired them, but they had to maintain their salaries. They wanted to be paid the same that me and my executives were being paid for doing undercover work and risking our lives, but they didn't have the fruits to show that or to justify that to the IRS. So they had to go back and use my.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Look at that widow's mite.
Yeah,
so we have some W-2 forms here and compensation from the organization and related organizations. These are salaries in the hundreds of thousands. Doesn't have any names next to them though. But I have no doubt that they pay themselves handsomely, and that was a precedent set by you, Tim Ballard. You.
Yeah. And what's not on this list is other tax filings where Tim is listed as a beneficiary, as a paid person in an organization that has him listed at above the $500,000 mark.
Exactly.
So call the kettle black or whatever.
Yeah.
He's saying they're ingratiating, enriching themselves on donor funds. Dude, you are taking the most money, like $500,000 salary at one point, plus other benefits. There's a line in there for other compensation that was in the $80,000 range, if I remember right. And his wife was on the salary board. His son was on the salary board. They're all getting salaries. So the Tim Ballard household was receiving in excess of $1 million a year in monetary compensation for their participation in OUR. So to point them out for taking donor funds, the widow's mite, to the tune of $400,000, $300,000, $200,000 is quite the delusional claim, because Tim was guilty of that and so much more when he was there as well. And so he's upset that they're still getting paid and he's not. Again, it's about what? The money.
The money.
That's what's driving him crazy. And I remember him complaining about this to me personally. He was so upset that Deseret Book was making so much money off of his books and that he was only getting a 12% royalty off of that. He's like, these are all my ideas. Like, why should they take the majority of the profits? I don't know. And he thought about suing Deseret Book at that time, but he was an active member of the church. He knew that would probably blow up his career, but he was so upset about the money. That's why he had a falling out with me, because I was making some money off of the American Covenant Tour, which was my idea, which I started, which I ran, was my business and my LLC, and I hired him to come on. He was so upset with me because I made $10,000 a year on that tour. And he just can't handle anybody else making money, because he should have all of it and he wants all of it. It's all about the money.
And further to that point, like, you know how Tim will always say in his current videos about, like, these people are stopping us from saving children, from getting this message out, that they are wanting to hide behind this and that, and they're not able to actually show the Sound of Freedom, and the Hidden War movie is being hidden. Guys, go call your theaters. People don't want this film shown. We got to get this message out. They're harming children. People are being raped because of this, that whole narrative. When it turns out, I have a couple examples, but just one example. If we rewind back to the time in which Ryan and Tim Ballard kind of split, while Tim went and pursued filming what turned into The Abolitionist, but what started as a 6-part series on that was called, tell me what the name.
6-part
series.
The
6-part series originally called. The one with Gardy Marty, and that he filmed all those first ones. The name of the first
Toussaint?
one. No, before that. Not important. But anyway, what eventually became the abolitionist movie, but the 6-part series, when that was filmed, that was supposed to be a TV show, right? And I have talked to people who have worked on that program, who helped produce it. Started off with Fletch Tech Media, who have since abandoned Tim as well. But they had all this backing, all this excitement. We're going to go out and make basically a reality show, get some awareness about sex trafficking. And for all intents and purposes, it could have been a good show if Tim Ballard wasn't there and wasn't so used to exploiting people. But because he wanted the most amount of money out of everyone, he wanted a producer role. This is what's been told to me by people who worked on this film with him. He wasn't going to get the producer role. He was being paid pretty much what the other people were being paid, which wasn't a lot, because it wasn't like a hugely proven concept. But they got lots of meetings with people like Netflix, and people were all excited. They were finally going to be able to sell this documentary and get it out to a wider audience, spread the word. And Tim Ballard called up Netflix and said, they do not have permission, because basically the contracts were not negotiated in a way that he made the most money out of everyone. So he shut down his films being shown to a humongously wide audience, like on Netflix, specifically because he wasn't making enough money. And that ruined his relationship with everybody that was working on the film with him, that he would sabotage this entire project because he wasn't making the most money. Further to that point, they were going to try to do a season 2 of that show, where they didn't just feature Tim Ballard being the guy that goes in and does these raids of these, saving the sex trafficked children. They had a contact of another person in Mexico City, maybe. There was this man who ran a beauty parlor, and he had this special code and the special agreement that if girls came in and they were actually being sex trafficked, that he had a safe house for them. They had a back door. They had a way that they could communicate that they were in danger and that they could escape. And this was like this great underground railroad, literally kind of thing that this Mexican man was doing. But when the producers and people pitched this idea to feature this man for the season 2 of the show, Tim Ballard shut down that idea, was horribly offended, was like, absolutely not. This is the Tim Ballard show. I am the one who saved sex trafficked kids. So in getting out more awareness and spreading the love, spreading the story, and highlighting somebody else who's doing amazing work in this field, he will shut down those stories if he's not being paid. He'll shut down those stories if he's not the main character. So those are just a couple examples of many that I can give you. Yeah.
And another one, just to back up that story, is my personal experience that we've talked about, where I had a show pitched to National Geographic Channel. They were all over it for the abolitionists. This was even before OUR got off the ground. And he walked away from that in a large part because of money, because he wasn't going to get paid a lot. And it boggled my mind. I couldn't understand why he would do that, because they were going to air it in over 100 countries across the world. And I was like, who cares if we don't get paid anything? This is going to be so good for the cause of human trafficking. It would have been so much bigger than The Sound of Freedom ever became, because it was a show that would be in all these other countries.
Right.
And he walked away because of money. And that's where it shocked me at the time, but it's been a thread that I've seen him lean into, where the motivation behind everything has a huge profit motive. Money, it all boils down to money. And so now this video where he's attacking OUR because they're not giving him money because he wants to get money from them, I'm like, the same old Tim. And people ask, was he corrupted later, because of being involved in these sleazy sex operations and stuff? He was a good guy. Unfortunately, right from the very beginning, money was at the forefront of his mind. I was there. He walked away from money he walked away from projects because of money that would have done so much good for saving kids right from the very beginning. And so he was always this way. It wasn't corruption. It's just who he is, sadly.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more point is, he just mentioned in the video something that is just, again, if you've ever heard just like a narcissist rant to you about something, you're like, methinks that this is not logically sound, where he says that OUR calls me mentally ill, but I'm not mentally ill enough for you to not use search engine optimization to profit off of the work that I did for the organization when I was making $500,000 a year, and that I still have a lot of film that is useful for your ad campaigns. Okay, so if you call me mentally ill, then you're not allowed to use any of that footage, and you're not allowed to ever use my name ever again. Okay, if I'm so mentally ill, then if I'm dead to you, then why are you at the wake? Okay, more Taylor Swift references. Ryan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, oh man, he doesn't understand what he's actually saying. He's not making the point that he thinks he's making. Yeah, I mean, but the sad reality is he's also admitting in that that Operation Underground Railroad was built around him and his personality. It
Right.
wasn't built around the cause of human trafficking. And this was by design by him, is he would constantly steer the organization towards revering and exalting him and his personality and his celebrity status. And so then he's ousted, and all of the marketing and the whole organization is built around Tim Ballard, this superstar Batman type savior of kids. They to stay alive, they had to like at least keep capitalizing on the marketing, which had been done in that effort for over 10 years at that point. And so what he's admitting to is that he built a cult-like organization based around him as a cult personality. The whole purpose of the organization and all the marketing and the image and all of it, even the images, of this, badass guy standing up there defending kids, were all built around him. And then when he had to go, they can't just pivot and, come up with some cartoon dog as their mascot. It was all built around him. It's a cult-like organization. And so, of course, they needed the ads that would go towards Tim Ballard to be redirected to OUR. Otherwise, they would cease to exist. It takes a long time to completely rebrand without him. So he's admitting to what the organization he built into, which was to self-aggrandize and exalt him and his personality. He's fully admitting to that. And OUR was in that position, like, what the hell are we going to do now that Tim's gone? And they really didn't have any other options. But again, come back to the money. It's the money. He's
Right.
upset that they were getting donor funds based on his name. But it's like, it's business 101. They have all the footage that was creative, all the marketing materials had Tim in it because the cameras were only pointed at Tim, and they were always pointed at Tim, and he made sure they were always pointed at Tim. And so
yeah, they made sure of that. And to further back that point, he got angry and upset when they weren't pointed at him, based on the story about the Mexican guy I just told. And then also there's a story from Paul Hutchinson told me personally, one of the reasons that he was finally done with Tim, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard this story from other people too, that there was some big gala, some big event where they were fundraising and they were honoring some other people who have done great things within the organization and the kids that they saved. And they were putting their pictures up on stage in front of like hundreds of people. And Catherine and him stood up and walked out in anger and in protest, flipping out, kind of like a mentally ill person, but flipping out that Tim wasn't the one that was being honored and being talked about. And it's like, okay, like we talk about you 99% of the time. Can we give some, honor to the other people within the organization? But just that like 1% of honor given to somebody else made them flip out and make a scene. Have you heard that story too?
Yeah, parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's, I mean, it's really the Tim show. So, he's like so mentally ill that you are still going to use my name. And to be honest, like, unless people watch this show and people are actually paying attention, most people don't. It's just simple business. Most people don't know that you're mentally ill, Tim. Okay. They see a nice white looking Christian guy saving brown kids and they're like, okay, great. that's the same old Tim Ballard that we've known and loved before. I wouldn't really fault OUR. I fault them on a lot of things in their current post Tim Ballard iteration, but I don't really fault them for using Tim Ballard's image, I guess, for that. Like if I was OUR, I don't know what else I would do necessarily. I mean, it's good to distance themselves from Tim Ballard, but then from a business perspective, they've been paying his legal fees of things that he did under the organization. So it's like, I don't know, they're both kind of in a crappy swamp and not acting with a lot of integrity anyway. It's not unbelievable to think that they're going to still use Tim Ballard's image. That I don't know how the laws work. I don't know how licensing works, but I'm pretty sure if you're paid $500,000 a year, like the 3 years after you leave the organization with a gigantic severance package, like it seems pretty normal practice to still use your image and your footage for ad raising. But Tim Ballard, again, he just wants the money that his face earned anyway. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly what Krista Virgo says. Replace his words, save the kids, with give me the money. That's great summarization of everything that's happened. And that's what he is he wants to be the middleman between the donors that have money, that want to see that money go to kids. He wants to be the middleman that takes that money, and then he decides how much of that money goes to kids and how much of it stays with him. And I mean, this, like, I don't want to offend our Mormon viewers, but really that's the position that the church is in also, where you want donations, that tithing donations and fast offering donations go to help people. Well, the church is the middleman, and that's why the middleman is so susceptible to corruption, especially like in the church where there is no accountability or public records. They're a corporation, not a nonprofit, that doesn't need to disclose where their funds are going. And so I'm not saying the church is corrupt and using those funds inappropriately, because I don't know. None of us know, because we can't see where any of that money's going to, because they're a corporation. But Tim, like, is using that same business model and inserting himself as the middleman between the donors and those that need the donations. And he wants us to trust him that he's the only one that will see that money go all the way through and be used in an appropriate way, when time and time again, we're having internal sources like John Lines and everyone else exposing that he is not a trustworthy source for any of that, not a trustworthy source. And so,
yeah,
you're right. Replace save the kids with give me the money. Great comment.
All right, back into it. Thanks for that, Ryan. You're the best.
Operations while defaming me. Case in point, Daily Wire has a documentary out right now. Daily Wire, you better think twice about this one. What they did was they took an old documentary about an operation like over 5 years ago, that I ran. A lot of it took place in El Centro, California in the US. And they just edited me out of it. Put that together with stealing my name. You see what they're doing? They're trying to make you think that they're still doing what I'm doing. With the operators I had, amazing operators, who, by the way, have lawsuits against them. We'll talk all about that. And I have a big invitation for you guys later. There's been a lot of emails that have come in to the attorneys who are running mini class action suits against our rescue right now. It's classactionrescuefraud.org. So send in your inquiries, because you're going to get an invitation. February 11th, we're doing an our rescue fraud rally at the executive in Washington, D.C. We're going to invite law enforcement. We're going to invite congressmen. We also have the Jews people coming in. Just today, by the way, I woke up to another assault against these children. I literally saw probably a 6-year-old boy just getting pummeled with a camera this close to his face. I'm not even going to post it. It was so disturbing. I don't even know if he made it today. Okay, we could have been there for him, but the money that was supposed to go to them, because of the fraud, buying my name, so that you would be tricked into giving money to them, that just sat this whole time accruing interest to pay their salaries that are upwards of $400,000. Okay, and IRS will determine if people deserve to make anything near that. So Jeff Frazier is.
I think me and Tim can agree it is wrong to selectively edit footage to appear as though you are saving children in situations where you are not, and increasing your donor dollars to pad your bank account in upwards of $400,000. Can we both agree? Can I get you on record, Tim, that is wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He's calling himself out. He's totally omitting the fact that he was making over $400,000 a year
Yeah.
for years. And he's saying that's immoral. The IRS has determined that is like too much and stuff, and it's wrong. Like, dude, we have the records. We have you making $520,000, $460,000 in 2019. Those records are publicly available, and like, oh, do you not hear the words coming out of your mouth, dude?
So you agree? You think you're really pretty? More Mean Girls quotes. So you agree? So you agree that that's fraud? Okay. All right. Okay. Got you on record on that, Tim.
I told them it was going to happen, and at some point they're going to realize that when I say something, I actually do mean it. And the film's going to open up with Jeff Frazier and Tammy Lee, who's being casted right now. We're looking at actors for both of them. Actually, we found the actor we want for Jeff. It's Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce plays the vision.
You got something, Ryan?
Krista Casey got demoted. The film was going to open up with her, and then it was also going to open up with Alan Mortensen, the lawyer that's Morton's Mafia, and he's got written out of the script. And who else was written out of the script? Oh man, so many people. And he follows that right before he said that. He's like, I follow through with whatever I say. I follow through with it. And then he's like flipping the script in the next sentence, like the number one villain, Krista Casey, number one villain. Oh, before Krista, it was Sasha. Sasha was the number one villain that Sound of Freedom was going to be written about. And so like I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh when he says he's going to follow through with what he says. I mean, he has been making threats. He's not even following through with the lawsuit against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for sexual ritual abuse. He just said that a month ago that he's going to sue them, and if they don't comply with his demands. And lawsuits are coming forward. Investigations are coming forward, both civil and criminal. You know, his standard lines. He's not following through with that. He's not following through with so many things that at this stage to say, when I say something, I'm going to follow through with it is absolutely laughable. It's absolutely laughable. Which
But do you think he actually, because he said that he's been suing the LDS Church, and I keep tabs on the Pacer website to look for, lawsuits that he's actually filing. It's a lot of threats, but what has he actually followed through on filing this? Because Mormon Stories is recording an episode right now. Hi, John. He can't listen to us. So if somebody wants to write down what we say in the comments and the notes so that John can read this. And hopefully when all of this is said and done, Ryan and I can go on Mormon Stories again and give that audience another update. But to your knowledge, hi, John. I will write it in the chat for you. Don't listen now. You're in an episode. Pay attention to your guest, not us. Okay. To your knowledge, though, Ryan,
it's multitasking.
Has he actually followed through on filing suits so far? And what do you think he's actually going to follow through on that?
The only suits he filed was defamation against the women who accused him of sexual assault. Then that was a year and a half ago. He's threatened to file lawsuits against Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I can't even keep track of all this. Is threats. I need to go back. There's a lot of them. And now he's threatening OUR. He's using litigation and the threat of litigation to coerce his enemies or his critics into giving stuff, whatever he wants. Reinstatement to the church, his temple recommend. He wants the money. Now he's trying to get access to the money that OUR made off of search engine optimization ads and donor funds or reoccurring donor funds. But I believe they are pretty much all empty, because one thing that we've learned from the case against defamation and the cases against Les Boris is that Tim and his lawyers are trying so hard to keep these cases out of court, to keep them from going to discovery. Tim and his lawyers argued and fought against Celeste because she presented all this evidence, all this information, and wanted the case to get dismissed, and successfully got it dismissed based on her putting forth and our lawyers putting forth emails that were not obtained in the proper way through the discovery phase of the case. And so their effort was to get her case dismissed, not to have it go to trial and the evidence be heard and for Tim to be exonerated. You know, if I was accused of sexual assault and by a multitude of women and it never happened, it's like, let's go to trial. Let's present all the evidence. I know I'll be exonerated, and because those things didn't happen, but those things did happen. So their legal strategy is to keep Tim off the stand, keep the cases out of the discovery phase, and hide and bury and suppress all the information. So Tim says he's going to sue OUR. Well, if he sues OUR and this goes to trial, then all of the shit that's been compiled by OUR is going to come out. All of it. They have all the dirt on him. They have the internal investigation.
He'd be screwed. Really want that. He would be so screwed.
He'd be so screwed. Yeah. Same with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He's threatening to sue them and expose them for sexual ritual abuse of children if they don't give him what he wants, membership in the church and temple recommend back. I don't think he's going to, he's not going to follow through with that. He's issuing threats because his lawyers have been trying to keep him off the stand, try and keep these out of discovery, try and keep all the information suppressed. And that's their entire effort against Celeste Boris.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a judge, sided with them without even hearing the evidence. And so all the evidence points squarely towards Tim being the worst of the worst and guilty of everything he's been accused of. And so they don't want a trial to actually happen. So I think it's all empty threats. It's all empty threats.
Right. His power is in his rhetoric and being able to spin a story. His power is in his words and threats of saying that OUR knows that everything I'm saying is the truth and people will believe him, but his power is not actually in showing anyone the evidence and people looking behind the curtain. Yeah. Anyone wants to summarize that in a sentence for John so he can read it while he's recording? Love you forever for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So back into this. Ryan, what time is your hard stop?
I'm good. I'm okay. Let's keep. We need to get through this video.
Vision is Guy Pearce plays opposite Jim Caviezel in The Count of Monte Cristo, but Alexander Dumas, if you saw that film or read that book, he couldn't find a real person who could actually betray a friend, and so that badly. Okay, so he had to invent a story called The Count of Monte Cristo. But in this case, Jeff Fraser's a real person, and I'm a real person. So you're going to see Guy Pearce, Count Mondego go head to head with a reinvention, we can say, of Count of Monte Cristo, but it's all true. The movie's called The Cost of Freedom, a true story based on a lie. So after they start this, violating the severance agreement, Tammy Lee goes on and she's asked a question. We're not going to play these games. Okay, they're trying to get out of it. She's asked by ABC4, what about Tim Ballard? And she says, she called me a bad apple, the sins of the past. And they're trying to now say, well, we don't know who she was referring to. Yeah, you know who she was referring to. We all know who she was referring to. We have her scheduled to post the Tim Ballard apology tour. So we'll go to everybody. The defamation is so insane. The internal defamation. So civilly, they're toast. Okay. But criminally, we have witnesses in Asia.
That just sounds ridiculous. Sorry, I keep pausing it though. He said, the internal defamation is insane. You're talking about an organization that kicked you out of it, Tim, and people are not allowed to talk about how much you sucked it up in there and how they have to rebuild. The internal defamation is insane. Yeah, I would expect if I totally defamed an organization that I brought up and made it so people associate it now with sex trafficking because Tim Ballard, was doing more sex trafficking than saving kids. Yeah, I think that there would be some internal gossip about you. That's not a crime. Is that am I crazy? That's literally what he just said. The internal defamation? That's not a thing. You just made that word up. There's no such thing as internal defamation.
Meanwhile, he's talking shit about everybody he's ever worked with.
Yeah.
He's what, dude? The public defamation, the internal defamation. It's all right, dude, you're the number one example. He's, the shit talker that can't take it when it's directed his ways. He can dish it out, but he can't take it.
He can dish it out.
He can't take it.
Internal defamation. Give me a break.
Asia and Europe, who law enforcement officers who sat there and watched Tammy Lee just feed herself on your donor dollars, spending more money than they make, according to them, than they would make in a month. And she just shoveled in alcohol and food. And apparently, this is alleged, but we'll get to the bottom of it. She, with your donor dollars, hired a boyfriend that she could also have sex with while she's doing this. She also bought a.
She did what?
What?
No,
we need to start
my headphones off.
Tim, start a podcast called Tammy Did What?
Tammy did what?
Did what?
So you're saying that hiring people that you can take on operations to have sex with is wrong? Do we have you on record? Well,
she was doing the couple of throughs. That's my game. That's fine.
She was doing it consensually. Can you believe Tammy was hiring a boyfriend to go on trips with her and having sex on trips? That's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. Oh, wow.
Oh. Next thing he's going to accuse Tammy of writing a book trying to exalt the miracles of the founding fathers, and she has her own personal psychic that talks to her boyfriend to
that'd be really funny.
Him into doing stuff. That'd be really funny. Yeah, start a podcast.
She was
Tammy did what?
Drinking. Yeah, it gets better, guys.
Oh, and what? This is just alleged land, but we've been told that Tim checked himself into rehab because of his drinking problem, and it comes from a trusted source. But I need to put out, it's just alleged, it's rumors. So he's again projecting his guilt on somebody else, like he always does.
And narcissists' accusations are admissions.
Yep.
This is not just a podcast about Tim Ballard and the latest breaking news. This is also to help you in your personal relationships. So when you're being accused of things, a lot of times, that is somebody projecting things onto you. And seek distance. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
my
even
wife
funnier.
pointed out the other day when we were talking about this that to back up your point, this is our PSA announce service for the day to identify narcissists. I had a family member that was going through a divorce that was cheating on his wife, and he began accusing his wife of cheating on him. And to, I guess, justify what he was doing in his mind. I don't know why. I don't know the psychological mechanics behind that, but it's such a telltale sign. Admissions of guilt, and with narcissists accusing others of the very thing that they're guilty of. So that's our PSA for the day. File that in your brain. Once I saw that and learned that, I could recognize it in others, and it's something that we have to deal with in life because there's a lot of narcissists out there. So
I'm accusing all of the Patreon subscribers to the Timmy Did What podcasts of being wonderful, glorious, gorgeous, thoughtful people. Might just be speaking about ourselves over here a little bit too, but you guys know who you are. Okay. All right. And then the accusations.
Just go straight to your head.
I know. Okay, and that's not it. So then he goes on to say even more accusations that are admissions.
Bought a bunch of real estate in her home state of Minnesota with your donor dollars. And I heard a condo in Salt Lake. We'll have to look into that's alleged. But what's going on here? There's lots of witnesses who will tell you she had no idea what she was doing. She was just trying to show up for photo op and gave some money, your donor dollars, to law enforcement that was always already doing an operation. She would show up with a jacket, try to get the photo op and make you think that she was doing what I was doing because she was making that much.
I love the way he phrased that. Make you believe that she was doing what I was doing, which was also cosplaying as a person who safe sex trafficked kids. That's my thing, Tammy. That is copyrighted.
Seriously. I know. It's like she's showing up for photo ops. Like Tim was all about cameras the entire time. He went and did operation to the tune of $40,000 that we learned from John Lyons with the Steelers head coach. When rented a helicopter just for photo ops, just for footage. $40,000 with the head coach of a football team in Haiti just to get some cool action footage that was exposed by wasn't it Tevye that showed up at
Yeah,
that, his sister-in-law?
sister-in-law, yeah.
That goes and told John about what was going on, that Tim was just in full-on movie-making mode. And so then he calls Tammy that she was just showing up for photo ops on company time or something. And that's what she's all about.
I got another Taylor Swift line.
Maybe. Yeah.
You can see him staring, honey, like she's just your understudy. She was just your understudy. That's it.
Tim was, understudy. Tammy's a Tim Ballard wannabe. Maybe she's like, saw him as like, that could be me someday. And so she got involved. Yeah. I don't know. Tammy, if you're not, set the record straight. Reach out to us, please. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, who knows?
And she's been ousted now, right?
That's
right. Anymore?
Oh, I wonder, but she's probably under NDAs like everybody at OUR got put under. If she's not, yeah, she got ousted. You're right. Forgot about that. Probably because she was showing up for photoshops, drinking on the job, paying a boyfriend to act as a couple's ruse partner. Maybe they saw that and be like, nope, we're not doing Tim Ballard 2.0. You got to go too.
Yeah, exactly. No understudies allowed. Please don't talk about politics. Please don't allow pedophiles to run our country, no matter what political side of the spectrum they are on. This is a don't cover up for pedophiles podcast, first and foremost. So release the Epstein files and we won't talk about politics. That's my plug. Okay. Oh gosh, let's see what else he has to say about Tammy.
How much money she had to justify it. The story gets really intense as they're writing the script past the Jeff Frazier part. So Jeff Frazier and the board, they oversee all this, so they are accountable. But it gets really bad. Flying into this event on February 11th in Washington, D.C. is Sheikh Tarif has confirmed, along with many Druze soldiers, they're going to come testify before law enforcement, write up their affidavits, and they're going to take testimony about all of the damage that diverting the funds did to their children. Okay, so this is really...
Cheers.
Diversion of funds. Yeah, diverting funds. Again, it comes back to the money. The money that was supposed to go to children through who? Tim. He wanted the money that then he could give to the Druze children. And so it's the diverting of funds. That's the theme of everything that he's upset about, the diversion of funds, because it's not personally profiting himself from this grift of trying to put himself in this messiah position of the Druze people in southern Syria. He again just goes around finding causes that he can be the middleman for, take donor money, get in between donors and people that need the donations. He's the diversion of funds.
He's the diversion of funds. Okay. Yep.
Really serious now. They're going to be, and we're going to be delivering the criminal complaints to IRS and FBI publicly with them. And we're going to do a lot of media around it. And you're invited to come. Everybody who emailed us, everybody who emailed the classactionrescuefraud.org email, I think it's info@classactionrescuefraud. You're going to get invited.
Should we email them? Should we email Tim and be like, we donated, Ryan, you especially could be like, I donated so much time and money raising funds for OUR. I am furious.
I am furious that some of it might be going to actual kids. That's a problem. I wanted it to go to you personally, Tim. I wanted my funds to go to you personally because you're the only guy that I can trust.
I wanted you to get more leather jackets and sit.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Meanwhile, he's wearing a black leather jacket like a true villain.
I noticed that your hair hasn't been highlighted in a while, Tim, and I am so upset. Okay.
Yeah.
Invited to come. You can zoom in as well. We're also going to show a private screening of Hidden War, which, like I told you, is going to be streaming throughout the world. And we're going to make this rescue fraud a big part of everywhere we go around the world. We have a lot of European agencies who are ready to come in as well. We're going to take their testimonies in Europe when we go out there this month. And I've seen the evidence. It's pretty compelling that our rescue they took credit for operations they literally turned down. They said, we're not going to, for example, we're not going to fund the aftercare of these Colombian girls in Europe, but we'll take credit for it so the donors think we did. Stuff like that. And it's long. I'm going to tell you how the movie kind of climaxes, kind of another our rescue fraud. You remember Pedro Flores? Pedro Flores was Simba from Sound of Freedom. Our rescue was paying him $6,000 a month so they could get as much as they could out of him and me. They were doing splash pages, new ones I had never seen before, all summer of 2023 to get as many donor dollars. I was okay with it because at the time I thought we were severance agreement, said we were friends.
Go for it.
So Pedro is the kid that he's been plastering all over as a rescued kid from the Columbia raid with Kelly Suarez. And he just admitted that Pedro was on the OUR payroll. Whoops, Tim, that's not a good look for you. You have been saying that Pedro comes forward, with testimony that my life is so much better. Tim saved me, which was totally debunked by the Red Pilled America on YouTube. Go look that up. Red Pilled America, Tim Ballard on YouTube. Excellent documentary, excellent investigative journalism on Kelly Suarez and the Columbia raid. They exposed Pedro was an actual adult, and that he wasn't trafficked and that he wasn't rescued, and he received no aftercare. And then Tim parades him around as somebody that he rescued, as a victim that he rescued. And it begs the question, if he couldn't find an actual victim, he had to make up a story about Pedro being a little kid that was rescued from the Columbia. Are there any victims? Are there any actual victims? So bringing Pedro into this story is you're not helping your cause, because you just admitted that Pedro was getting paid $6,000 a month by OUR to then tell a story about how he was rescued. He was getting paid to do that. Tim, you just admitted the worst thing you could about Pedro and that whole story. He just admitted that Pedro was on the payroll of OUR and not an unbiased kid that is so grateful that he was rescued that he wants to support the organization and the person that he did. He just admitted that OUR and Tim were completely corrupting this kid and using him and paying him. If they have to pay him to tell that story, what can we believe is true? Because there's a profit motive, again, for the victim to come forward and heap praises on Tim and OUR. So, dude, you're not helping your case. You're seriously the very best criticism of Tim Ballard is Tim Ballard. He's totally admitting all the corruption that he's been up to this entire time, including Pedro.
Yeah, excellent point. And you guys really should go look up Red Pilled America. Who, people are upset at us for getting political, but Red Pilled America is, from all intents and purposes, a more right-leaning type of podcast, is it not? And
yeah, about the political stuff, if you can't handle somebody that has a different opinion, then you're not worthy of having a discourse in America. Our whole country functions with people talking together. And if you can't handle somebody having a different opinion with you and respectfully listening to that, you can totally reject anything that I say. Absolutely reject it. But trying to say that you don't want me talking about something, don't want me to say anything negative about Trump, then you just might be part of a cult personality manipulating you as a cult. That's all I gotta say. If criticism is now off the table, then that's the recipe for authoritarianism, and we're headed in a really bad place. If that offends you, okay? I don't care about anybody else's politics. You do what you do, but I'm not going to say somebody that they're not to anybody that they are not allowed to voice their political opinion, because everything with Tim Ballard, it informs how we should view our politicians. We're learning about people that manipulate others, that weaponize their spirituality, their politics. Tim is interjecting politics all throughout this. He is the biggest Trump fanboy, and he's justifying Trump's actions left and right. And so he's introducing politics into this. And I think it's very, very helpful to apply what we learn about Tim as a master manipulator and apply it to Trump. You can apply it to Barack Obama. You can apply it to Biden. You can apply it to Buttigieg. You can apply it to any politician that you want to, and you should, regardless of where they stand. And so we're all just trying to learn and grow better, but please don't tell me or anybody else that they should not even talk about it, because that's a dangerous place. And I completely reject that. That's not healthy.
Right
okay.
on. And thank you, Richard, for saying, I do not think decrying pedophiles is inherently political. And then Taylor said, reality is political. Life is political. If you can't handle it, go find a safe space that protects pedophiles. Ooh. And I mean, and at the crux of it, why do me and Ryan do this podcast? Why do we care? Is it because Ryan was stabbed in the back by Tim Ballard? No. Do I care just because I'm an ex-Mormon and I want to see, other fraudsters within the church be exposed? No, the wider reason why I care about this is because there are good people out there who are within the Mormon church, who are within OUR, like Ryan, like the women who worked for Tim, who were maligned and abused and mistreated and all of those things. There are good people within these organizations, and I want to be able to continue good work. I want people who are Christian to be able to still worship. I want people who care about stopping sex trafficking to be able to do that kind of work. And we have to call out the people who use these righteous causes against the very people who are within those organizations, platforming themselves, thinking that they are above the law. So it's because we care and we want to see good things and good fruits of these, honest intentions move forward in the world. And we can't do that without saying that there are people who will misuse that instinct in people. And wherever you fall politically, you can be manipulated and you can be subject to a narcissist who will use those best intentions against you. And you won't be able to see it because you think that they're just on your side. They're wearing your jersey. That's bullshit from, every side of the political spectrum. So when we have something as serious as, dozens of Epstein victims coming forward, and the White House today, right now, is covering up for pedophiles. They are redacting the names of perpetrators, saying that they only are redacting the names of the victims, when that's opposite. They're actually putting out names of victims, and they are redacting the powerful billionaires, pedophiles, politicians who basically run this world. And Tim Ballard is somebody who says that that's the kind of stuff he cares about. I care about it. And I'm not going to be silenced on my own podcast saying that we can't talk about that. If the current administration of our country, the most powerful, person in the world, is contained within that pedophile ring, possibly the ringleader, that's a story. That's important to me to be able to say that there are actual victims and there are people who hold positions of power who refuse to see that they will actually face the inside of a jail cell or worse. So come on, people. There's bigger issues than two sides, jerseys, team infighting. There's actual real victims of sex trafficking out there in the world, and I don't think it's the time and place to be in a safe space right now. So you guys hear about the Sasha Riley case? That's all you need to know. Sasha Riley. There's evidence upon evidence of Trump himself being a pedophile. And I hope that anybody, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, if the person that you voted for turned out to be a pedophile, you'd say, well, I was mistaken, and now I can do an about face and realize that the person who said that they would bring these people to justice are actually the people who are perpetrating it. That's kind of like Tim Ballard. And that's my piece on that. So
yeah, that you're just realizing that you're mistaken about something and that you want to do better. That's the whole conversation right there. And I know Kara used to be hardcore conservative, and I was too. I was in 2016. I made a video on my Nephite Explorer channel, campaigning for Trump when right before the election, when there was some discussion about him and the newcomer. I can't remember his name. Anyways, I campaigned for Trump back then, but I have since come to realization that the things that come out of his mouth and his actions do not align, which is typical of most politicians, but they are very, very far apart. And a lot of people in our country are realizing the same thing. The whole conservative movement, all the farmers that campaign for him, Make America Great. Look at what's happening in the farming community, in the agriculture community. They have all been absolutely decimated by Trump buying Argentinian beef and by wrecking the agricultural market through tariffs and things like that. So what people say and what they actually do don't always align. The actions and the words are different, as we see with Tim. Tim is a case study for people like that all across the board. And the other thing that I want to make a point of is people might, we have a lot of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that have watched this, and they might take my my criticism of of tithing being a closed book, the church being a corporation and not being allowed to see where the tithing funds are being spent and all the different shell companies that money is being run through, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. That isn't I really don't see that as a criticism of the church in that this is a bad organization. I see my pointing that out as a way to try and make the organization better. Transparency is better. Having closed books, having it be a corporation rather than a nonprofit that you can't see stuff is a recipe for corruption. And as we see in the Tim Ballard case, he was that person. And he even somebody as righteous and as revered as Tim Ballard is susceptible to corruption. And so in order to keep the church on the mission that it is, which is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and be a light on the shining hill, I don't see there be any place for a system which hides the finances in shell companies, hides the tithing donors' money, and tries to keep all of that secret. Like, you want the church to continue on and be the best version of a church that it could possibly be, then I would think that members of the church would be advocating for more transparency also. So please don't take anything I say as a hit job against the church because I got an axe to grind, or a hit job against Trump because I have an axe to grind. No, these are like systems that are not functioning as well as they should be for the benefit of the American people, for the benefit of the members, and they can do better. And it's not a bad thing to call out to be better. And I would like to see more members of the church, more people in the Republican Party call about for better transparency and better behavior by our leaders. We all deserve better, but we're not going to get it unless we demand it. And we're not going to demand it unless we speak out against it. So there we go.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Well said. This algorithm that we're in right now, we are a country that is run by tech overlords. And I'm going to have a strong word with people like Mark Zuckerberg in the afterlife about how much this algorithm is here to divide us and to get us to hate our common Americans and people who have the same good morals and instincts that we do, and divide us down party lines when we agree on more things than we disagree on. So I think we all agree that pedophiles should face some harsh penalties, including life in prison, if not the death penalty. So, there's a lot of common ground that we can agree on. Let's stick on that. So, Ryan, thanks for those amazing and articulate words. And let's not let the algorithms divide us. After Charlie Kirk was shot, the first thing I thought in my head was, they're stoking tension. They want us to hate each other right now. And I will not hate my countrymen. So the only countrymen that I will hate are the ones who have the billions of dollars who are sex trafficking kids for their own blackmail schemes. So let's have more transparency. There's no wrong way to go about asking for more transparency. Okay. And also, we got a super chat from my Finnish friend. Timmy, better watch out. Nothing getting past the dynamic duo, Kara and Ryan. Thank you so much for the $50. Mwah. Amazing. Keep those super chats coming if you can, guys. Okay, should we get back into it?
Yeah.
They're friendly, so I wish them well. I did a post during that time after I'd left supporting OUR. But then before the movie even left theaters, or as it was leaving, they cut Pedro off, leaving him vulnerable. So then this mafia group, the ones that were the lawfare warriors who were trying to stop Sound of Freedom from the beginning, we call them the Mortensen Mafia. Okay, that includes every woman in this has made the lies that many of them going to jail. One of them's already been convicted, Kelly Suarez. The very trafficker from Sound of Freedom is the client with this conspiracy. So they go after him, and that story is insane. You can go to Pedro File in my link tree, and you can read his lawsuit. He eventually gets out. We have to go rescue him again. I rescued him on the island. He rescued me by not taking the bribe because they were trying to get him to sue me. with the person who trafficked him, convicted. Okay, this is how crazy these people are. And he refused to do it. So he saved my life. But he put himself and his children at risk. He has 2 little children. And so we had to go rescue him again. The movie gets really exciting here. We move him to multiple countries. He's finally he's a refugee in a foreign country. He's lost everything thanks to the Mortensen Mafia. What does our rescue do? Well, just a few months ago, our rescue gives a ton of your donor dollars to the Mortensen Mafia in this bogus settlement. They knew I was winning in court. I had won in court, and they had been sued too. And we won in court together, but they couldn't possibly have me win because I would be exposing what I'm doing right now. So they made a really bonehead move and gave your donor dollars to the Mortensen Mafia, the very people that represent Kelly Suarez. So now Pedro is going up against them in court, and now they're well funded. With your donor dollars, they have funded further abuse against Simba, a little kid on the island whose life I was fortunate enough to save. So I think I've given you enough, guys. This is big stuff. There's so much more. We will, as criminal and civil investigations play out, we have to give information strategically to you. But on February 11th, we will give you everything, and you'll get to see Hidden War. Now I want to read this. Everything would have been solved from the beginning if they just listened to Jesus. The very people who Jeff Frazier claims to believe in Jesus, but he seemed never heard of this. He's sort of lawyers, and the lawyers trumped this. He said, I don't think that works, because the key to your success is Matthew 5. This is Jesus talking. This is serious. This is on the Mount of Beatitudes. And he says, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there remembereth that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave thy gift before the altar, and go thy way, and be reconciled to your brother. That means go and talk to them. No one talked to me. That's the 1% club. Nobody. I even have a friend in the media. I thought we were like best friends, who actually, he hurt my wife and me the most, because he actually misled his viewers, indicating he was Matthew 18 compliant. That he saw both sides of the story. He never saw my side of the story. He couldn't have. I didn't even know what my defense was, because I didn't have the lawsuits yet. But he did tell you that he was Matthew 18. He basically said he was Matthew 18 compliant. That's even worse than not being Matthew 18 compliant. I say Matthew 18.
So he's saying a person in the media. Do you think he's talking about, I don't know, Glenn Beck? Somebody who
he must
was
be
in the media?
He must be. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was probably Glenn Beck, who investigated the sexual assault claims. I believe he talked to some of the women and believed them, and found that the sexual assault claims were credible. And then he published on the Blaze website some of the findings that they independently confirmed and found. And apparently Glenn didn't talk to Tim directly, because Tim, and that's what he's so upset about, being Matthew 18 compliant, that Glenn didn't come to him directly, so that Tim could try and manipulate him into doubting what everybody else was saying around him. But yeah, hats off to Glenn for doing that. I wish he would do more, come forward more. He bears a lot of responsibility in building up Tim Ballard, and has a lot of responsibility in undoing him and dismantling everybody. All of us that built him, that platformed him, have the responsibility to deplatform him now. And so he should do a lot more. He should do a lot more, because Tim's still out there spewing this stuff, still has a following. But I'm pretty sure he's talking about Glenn Beck and as his friend in the media that he mentioned.
Best friend, he thought. Also, thank you, Mormon Stories, for the $20. Love you, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, he also goes into this in talking about Kelly Suarez. Tim, keep talking about Kelly Suarez, because you're only strengthening her defamation case against you. He's been calling her a convicted trafficker. Not true. She was convicted wrongly, in my opinion, of pimping, which is accepting money that Tim was offering her for her participating in this party, this sex party that he was throwing. But nobody is trafficked. There were no victims. She didn't bring anybody. And anyways, we've gotten to that before. Again, go watch Red Pilled America's report on that on YouTube. But keep talking about Kelly Suarez, because an update on that litigation is that her defamation case got the green light for the Utah courts to go to discovery, go to trial. And then Tim's lawyers filed a motion for appeal, which was denied. Then they filed a second motion for appeal, which was also denied. And now the last and third and final motion for appeal, which is currently being heard by the Utah Supreme Court, is being it's being heard by them, and we haven't gotten a ruling on that. So as soon as that, and it's the first two motions for appeal were denied, this one at the Utah Supreme Court would have to overturn the two other courts below them. And if that gets denied, then the Kelly Suarez case is going, defamation suit against Tim is going to discovery. And then we're going to get the whole story. We're going to hear everything that's going to happen about that. And I fully expect it to be also the appeal to be denied. And so we're going to be able to dive into that and understand everything that Tim did to entrap Kelly Suarez in his island raid in Cartagena, Colombia, which I went down and was part of Kelly's trial and got to meet her and hear her story firsthand. So that is really big news. Justice for Kelly. We want the whole story, the whole truth to come out and not to be relegated to just a corrupt Colombian lower court that threw her in jail for 20 years. So I'm excited that that will hopefully happen very soon. We'll get that ruling. Again, he's projecting in this last rent that all these people are going to jail. Other than Kelly, nobody is going to jail. Nobody has been convicted of everything. The lawyers, he says, that represent the women are going to jail. No, they're not. He's trying to get them disbarred by attacking them personally and filing lawsuits against them. And he's also defamation suits against the women that exposed him, that filed lawsuits against him. Nobody's going to jail, but he's projecting those threats to try and intimidate people. That's what he does. He tries to use lawfare to intimidate and coerce people into backing down and leaving them alone. And it's not working. I mean, it's just not working. The church didn't comply. I don't believe OUR is going to be intimidated and comply with his demands. And all of the women, they haven't complied to demands. And so we talked about lawsuit. OUR had a settlement with the women that I found out because Tim announced it on Instagram or something. However, the lawsuits against Tim personally are still going forward. So I think what's happening is Tim is freaking out that OUR is working or settling in some fashion. And I don't know this firsthand. I haven't talked to the lawyers. This is just my speculation with the women accusers. And he's freaking out that OUR will like assist them maybe in their lawsuits against him, or that he's lost their support, lost their protection, because they've been protecting him this whole time, not only publicly, but with legally in a joint. I assume that their lawyers and Tim's lawyers have been working together because Tim was an employee when he committed these alleged crimes against the women. So there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes with the litigation that are happening in front of the scenes. And this stuff is a slow grind. And it's incredibly frustrating that we're 2 years, almost 2 years after the women came forward, and we still don't have resolution on Tim being held accountable. But I'm not giving up hope just yet, because there's some light at the end of the tunnel and some really hopeful things that are happening on that front. Yeah, including the Kelly Suarez situation. So hopefully we'll gain some traction there, and that'll become a trial. Discovery will happen, and we'll get the whole story. And Tim will have to testify. His lawyers have been trying to keep him off the stand, with fighting tooth and nail to keep him from having to testify. But we want him on the stand. We want everybody on the stand, and hopefully that will happen soon. So that's just a little update on that with the Kelly Suarez stuff. So keep talking about Kelly, Tim. You're only strengthening her case. You're only giving her more ammo for defamation, and it's going to backfire on him, big time. Yeah, big time.
Justice for Kelly. Thanks for that, Ryan. We got a nice fat super chat. Paisley, $100. Thank you so much. Bowing to your presence. Appreciate this.
Paisley.
I'm about 25 minutes behind in the live stream, but want to show my support. Thank you for helping take Tim Ballard down. It's such a complicated story, but you both help explain the situation beautifully. Y'all are true American heroes. Aw, Paisley, you're a hero. Thank you so much. That helps a ton, keeping this podcast afloat. All right. Let's see him finish up his rant. Okay.
because Matthew 18 is Jesus talking again. He goes through the details of what it means to be Matthew 18 compliant, all the steps you have to take. And in the end, if you don't do it, he says you're a heathen and a publican. Even worse in Matthew 5, and this is true to form, this is actually going to be a prophecy fulfilled. Agree with thine adversary quickly while thou art in the way with him. Lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. That's going to happen to many of these people, and the longer they wait, the more liability accrues. But remember, their interest is accruing too with your donor dollars that they stole, so that's their competition right now. But what do we care about accruing? Our liability, civil and criminal, or liability if we don't make the money so we can pay ourselves all this money? That's where we're at, guys. We will see you on February 11th to tell you more. I'm scratching the surface, but we're going to tell you more about what happened with our rescue and what they're actually doing with your donor dollars and how children literally are dying. And we will tell you about all the civil and criminal liabilities that they carry. And you're going to learn and see the pictures of all the children since August 11th on until now who didn't get the funding because they're sitting in our rescue's bank accounts and they're paying themselves $300,000 to $400,000 salaries. Okay, they're executives. Come learn about it. It's very serious, and you're going to get a big sneak peek into what Sound of Freedom 2 and 3 will look like. We'll see you at February 11th.
Cool.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to part.
Cool.
Wow,
Okay.
Tim, you were getting paid $300,000 or $400,000 in OUR. Do you not hear the words coming out of your mouth? Sorry. Wow.
With your donor dollars. He's really concerned about the donor dollars. The amount of times he says donor dollars and how they should be allocated. He seems to care a lot now that he doesn't have access to them. But when he did, he was funneling them into a shell corporation that apparently it's been proven, at least from my understanding, allocated that funds to the tune of $2.5 million to prostitutes. So, Tim, you did that. No, you did that, Tim. So are we ever going to bring that up?
Yeah. I think it was just simply 1.5 million. I don't want to correct you, but I think it was only 1.5 million to prostitutes. So that's easily only if one. That's just like a blip on the spreadsheet.
You can barely get enough prostitutes for 1.5 million. It probably was just, all right, I won't make a dirty joke, but it was probably just over the clothes stuff at 1.5 million. Then okay. All right.
Yeah, you can't get much for that today.
Yep. Inflation and all. Yeah. Thanks, Obama.
So, do you want to play the update Instagram version of Tim's next now that the rant's over? Any other closing thoughts on rants, or should we move on to that?
Yeah, let's do that one. So if you go to Tim's Facebook page, I have an actual question. This is a serious question for people who watch the show and are of the Republican right-wing persuasion, of which I am no longer. It's his whole entire Facebook page is just ranting against, left-wing Democrats, this and that, intense amounts of Islamophobia, I would put it. And it makes me wonder, do people who watch this show, they're like, I know Tim Ballard's a bad guy, but I love and agree with everything else he posts. So if somebody else just wants, go to his Facebook page and get back to me. If you watch Fox News, if you vote and still support Trump, if you are MAGA, night and day, is it just Tim Ballard that is a fraud, but you think everything else that he says is a-okay? I'm not going to make any inferences about, maybe leaning back and taking a step back on having so many opinions that agree with Tim. But it fascinates me that he has just so many wild accusations all the time. And it's not just the ones that have to do with his, personal business and these things. He has a vested interest in getting people divided and hating their fellow Americans, and just like the things he pushes already and the type of audience that he has accrued don't seem like they're really interested in forming a better world for the rest of us. Has a lot of hate and divisiveness that I don't agree with. So just wanted to ask that question, put that out there. All right, I'll take a sip of my kefir and we will continue. So this is his update for people who don't get it. He also goes on, he goes on a huge rant about how Trump is right on for having to acquire Greenland. And I guess, am I just in a different algorithm? And I know about the tech oligarchs like Peter Thiel who want to form, technocrat, like the freedom cities, and that's the real reason why they want Greenland, and it has nothing to do with national security. Am I just on a different algorithm and I sound like a crazy person to you guys? But like, we can build more military bases in Greenland. They have the go-ahead. I don't think we should sabotage the American dollar and ruin ties with all of our enemies just because we want Greenland. It feels like there's some billionaires who are playing the puppet strings here. So if we are just on different algorithms and I sound like a crazy person and you would go investigate it and you're like, no, it's absolutely for national security and Trump is right on with this and we should absolutely get out of NATO and acquire Greenland and go invade it. You tell me your best argument, but I am only seeing the billionaire puppet strings point of view. Just, if I have a platform, I might as well just say the things that I have been on my mind lately. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, and if I could ask the same question that you're asking, like, does anybody see that Trump taking Greenland by military force if necessary, how is that different from what Putin did to Ukraine? Like, I don't see a difference because the Greenlanders don't want America to take them over. I don't see a difference. If I'm wrong, please send us away. But it seems like pretty cut and dry and simple. Putin bad for doing that, but Trump good for doing this. I don't know. You tell me.
It's the ideology of a rapist, to be honest. Might makes right because you don't have enough military force. Therefore, that's what Stephen Miller's point was this week on the news. Well, it's like, but they don't have the military force to combat us. So it's like, isn't that what a rapist would say? Like, this woman can't fight me off, so therefore I'm entitled to take it. Like, is that really the world that we want to live in? Millions of dead bodies post World War II. Did we not all agree that we need to have a better alliance and better morality and keep each other accountable? Or is it just might makes right and whatever Trump says goes? Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Okay. Let's play his the update. See if he has more things to say in here.
Hey guys, if you have not already seen part 4 of our rescue fraud, please go watch it. So what the board is doing now is they're deciding whether they're going to sue me for defamation. Let me explain what they're actually doing. If they do that, it will be full of lies. It'll be a Mortensen type lawsuit to signal to the public, since lawsuits are public, to try to tell you that they didn't do these things. For example, they've already tried to say that Tammy Lee was not talking about me when she said bad apple and sins of the past. We all know that in the courts, the public opinion and in the actual courts, we know she was talking about me because the reporter asked her what her thoughts on Tim Ballard were, and she responded with, "He's a bad apple." So it'll be full of false defenses, lies, and what they're doing is lying to you. So if they are to do that, if they go ahead and try to sue me for defamation, which I expect they might do, I will immediately do a political analysis, a legal analysis of it, and show you how what they're really doing is continuing to defraud you, continuing to lie to you through a lawsuit. And that will then be considered as for further charges of communications fraud and donor fraud, because they're trying to message you more lies, because all they have is lies. If they don't do the right thing, which I've told them, I've offered them the opportunity to be indemnified, to give the board, bring in the new board. I don't even want a job there. I just want the right thing to be done. I could sue them for all this money. The civil case alone is about $250 million in damages. Eduardo Verastegui will sue them. They don't even have $250 million. They have about $30 million left. And they have programmed that money for their retirement, is what you'll find in depositions, okay? And so I just want the right thing done for donors, because I consider all of you my donors still, okay? I could take all the money for myself. The civil lawsuit I have against them is literally $250 million times like 4 different times and different people like Sound of Freedom and others. I just want righteousness restored to Operation Underground Railroad. And I want to choose a new board that I know understands the mission. That's all I'm asking for. So if they sue me for defamation, just know it's really an attempt to continue to defraud you by lying to you through a lawsuit, signaling to you through the lawsuit that they're innocent. They're not innocent. Okay, they know that everything I'm saying is true. It's well documented in the 18-page demand letter. So just know that if they do that, I will immediately do a legal analysis and show to you how they continue to lie to you through a lawsuit to signal to you that everything's fine over here. There's nothing to see over here. See, they want me to sign an NDA and give me probably a couple $1 million to be quiet, like they did with my enemies. I will never do that. I promise you, donors, I will never do that. Because that would be allowing them to continue to defraud you, pretend they do things they don't do, letting them continue to justify ridiculous salaries that the IRS would never qualify, ever, okay? For what they're actually doing on the ground, you wouldn't even come close to that salary, okay? So just know if they sue me, it'll be another attempt to defraud you, and I will unmask it immediately.
So what you're saying is sometimes OUR has exorbitant salaries that aren't justified by the actual work they're doing. So you agree?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's a bad thing then,
You
Tim?
agree. You agree with your critics. You agree with us that you were getting paid more than you deserved and more than you needed. And that money should have been going to rescue kids, to aftercare, to all sorts of stuff. But you needed a $500,000 salary yourself. And now all of a sudden you see the light that that money should be going to kids. Though Tammy and Jeff Frazier and all those guys are taking your donor dollars that aren't going to kids, and it's going into their retirement fund. What the hell were you doing with your money, Tim? What were you doing with your money? Why did you need the same salary? Actually, a higher salary than that. Like, again, can't see. He's making the case against himself so well. Well said, Tim. Well said.
All right. Well, what do we see for the future now? I mean, Tim is out here making a lot of accusations, reassuring his followers that he's got everything under control. The bad guys are going down. Keep donating. I guess we'll have to wait and see what this rally is on February 11th.
I don't know.
And he acts like the Druze people are really upset about the donor dollars too, that they're flying all the way out here from the Middle East because they are so upset that Tim Ballard's foundation didn't get the money from his foundation 4 foundations ago. So that's their top priority, is flying out here and helping Tim with that. What else do you think we should expect in the future?
Well, Tim is trying to restore righteousness. It's not about the money. It's about restoring righteousness. And restoring righteousness to him has a price tag of $250 million, which is what he's suing OUR for. Still haven't seen the lawsuit, but he's suing OUR for $250 million times 4 to... it's not about the money. It's about restoring righteousness. Again, like the spiritual manipulation, the using scripture manipulation, like the stuff that he's throwing at us is it's the biggest dump truck of bullshit. That and the thing that drives me crazy about all this is that he's upset that the donor dollars that OUR built their company on, that's going to them, the recurring funds, the donor dollars, whatever, is going to them and not to him. Meanwhile, fun fact that everybody that's still supporting Tim needs to know about, OUR is, or Our Rescue is a 501c3 nonprofit. Tim wants all that money to go to his foundation called the Tim Ballard Foundation. Well, fun fact that you need to know about, the Tim Ballard Foundation, I looked it up. It's not a 501c3 nonprofit. What is it? It's a private corporation. So there will be no accountability of where that money is going towards. He has filing about him being a nonprofit. So he wants the money to go into his personal private bank account that doesn't have any transparency. And we're supposed to trust that. It's getting back to my rant about tithing. He's setting up the same thing. He doesn't disclose on his website that he's not a nonprofit, and he calls it a foundation, kind of insinuating that he's a nonprofit because that's what nonprofits are founded. Meanwhile, he's not a nonprofit. The Tim Ballard Foundation is not a 501c3 foundation. And so what are you up to, Tim? You want the money to be going into your private, personal, corporate account that has no oversight, no transparency, no accountability of who's getting paid what. And I wonder what your salary is, Tim, because I'm sure it's not a modest salary coming from that. So again, this is such a grift from beginning to end. And I hate that we have to spend 2 hours talking about to expose what it is. But anybody that's part of Tim's organization needs to know that they're not donating to a nonprofit. They're donating to Tim's personal bank account. That's what it is.
Yeah. Great point.
And the word people,
foundation really, the word foundation.
A little bit deceptive.
That's very deceptive. Yeah. Okay. Great points there, Ryan.
Yeah.
Did you have something else you wanted to add to the Drews? Sorry, I
Nope.
cut you off.
That's it. No, that's it. He's just using the Druze people and the Druze cause to again set up his shell company, the TBF Foundation, to get donor money going to him personally for himself, for his own, and it's all about the money. Every rant, all of this is a fight over the money. He has completely lost the plot, and he's exposing his hand. He's exposing everything that he's guilty of through admission of guilt by accusations against Tammy and against Jeff Frazier, against OUR. And those are all things that he's guilty of, but he still thinks he should be profiting off of that system, that corrupt system that he set in place. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun
and
times.
He turns on everybody who's ever tried to help him, whoever believed in him, people who put their neck out on the line. Tim is the kind of guy. This is who he is. You know, he stabs you in the back. He stabs his own organization, calls the Mormon church these heinous accusations of being in bed with institutional satanic child abuse. Like the worst things that you can do to a person, take their money, take their reputation. If people come out against the actual things that he's done. So he's thought that he'd be able to get away with doing the couple's ruse and taking these types of donor dollars to go on these basically lavish vacations and allegedly molest women all the way up to, allegations of rape. So all of this comes out of his own bad behavior, people trying to distance themselves, and he can't have that. And unfortunately, think that he is the one savior who is there to expose it. But that's just not, that's not the way the cookie is crumbling. Well, we have so much more to cover in future episodes. So many other things that I'd love to talk to you guys about. We've got some great intel from inside sources recently. And if you want more behind the scenes stuff, please go and sign up for our Patreon. There's a link down below. You can just have a recurring donation of a couple bucks a month. And we have all of these podcasts on there without ads or interruptions. And we also try to upload as many documents that we can that you can read for yourself. And obviously we have our strong opinions, but you can read the documents, come to your own conclusions as well. Most of those documents are up on our Patreon. If you have anything else that you want us to cover, if you are somebody who is an OUR type insider and you have more stories, we'd love to talk to you. And people are camera shy, and there's reasons for that because Tim can be kind of mentally ill, and people are afraid of going on camera and how that will affect their livelihood and their families and things like that. But we really hope that more people will be able to do the right thing and call out Tim publicly so that people who care about sex trafficking can actually find organizations that align with, goals that meet those ends, instead of people who think that Tim Ballard is still the hero that he is not. So the more people that we can help sway public opinion, even if we don't win in the courts, even if the women don't get their justice in the court system, public opinion will be swaying. So the more voices that we can have coming against him, even from, the LDS camp of people who recognize that this was a wolf in the hen house. What is that saying? The one I'm going for right now. Yeah. So you can email us down below if you have more tips, if you have more insider info. And our Patreon's a great way to support us. Our Venmo is down below. Our donor box, that's also good for setting up recurring donations to help us do this work. We'd love any, comments, questions, what you think of Tim, and anything else you want us to cover. The comments help push this out to the algorithm more. And liking goes a long way. Subscribing goes a long way. Hit the bell for notifications too, so you don't miss next time we go live with more updates, because we have so many other things that we've been wanting to cover. We took a little break over the holidays, but we're getting back into it. I have some fantastic insider info from somebody who worked on one of Tim Ballard's films, and he came over and showed me some specific insights into Tim Ballard's CrossFit buddies who are not trained to actually go on missions. And what happens when you take a bunch of Lehigh, Utah gym bros who don't know the first thing about law enforcement and ethics and tell them to go hang out with a bunch of teenage or young adult sex trafficking women sex trafficked women during a raid that Tim is working on. What do you think those guys do in situations like that? Some of it is actually caught on camera and put into one of Tim's films. So maybe I'll save that for another episode that we do on Patreon. We'll see. But my mind was blown to smithereens. I mean, I feel like I've heard everything, and it just sometimes things just keep getting worse. But Tim keeps showing us who he is and what kind of organization that he ran. And it wasn't always to save sex trafficked kids. It was to tell a story and to enrich himself for the majority of it. While there are a lot of people who try to do good things. And one other thing that we didn't mention in this episode that I wanted to get in is the thing that's always kind of really sat with me the hardest is the way that the children at Foyer de Sion have been treated. That is an OUR run kind of orphanage that was in Haiti, that was headed up by Gardy Marty's father, Gesno Marty, that kind of started the entire entrance into Tim Ballard going to Haiti to start OUR and film it and save this little boy. And it's part of the story of Sound of Freedom. But I have a longer, more YouTube-y documentary about the Foyer de Sion story and what really happened in Haiti. And Tim acts like he took children from one sex trafficking orphanage in Haiti that was also run by the Relief Society president of the ward that was in Haiti. So do with that information what you will. I have a hard time believing that a Relief Society president was involved in sex trafficking. Nonetheless, ran a normal, underfunded type of shoddy Haitian orphanage. Tim Ballard in his film, the abolitionist, he rescues these kids and then puts them in Foyer de Sion that's run by Gardy Marty or by Gesno Marty. And there have been some serious allegations of those children that were there being raped and some of them becoming impregnated by the staff and needing abortions. And I had heard that story, but I didn't really know where to find the evidence. And wouldn't you believe it that Jeff Frazier, there's a video of him that I was able to get from Lynn Packer's channel who's done a lot of reporting on Tim Ballard over the years. And Jeff Frazier has a video talking about how he needs more donor money to help these children at Foyer de Sion. The food has maggots in it. The kids don't have shoes. The nannies there are washing the kids' clothes in lime and their fingernails are falling off, and just horrible things have happened. And I've had a lot of insiders from the orphanage reach out to me and tell me what was really going on there. And it's pretty sad. It's pretty pathetic. And a lot of that money that Tim and OUR were sending for this aftercare facility for these children at Foyer de Sion, that was taken, not just basically embezzled away by people within Foyer de Sion like Gesno Marty. That's the allegation I have heard. But also that children were raped and needed abortions, all the way to that fact. And Jeff Frazier has a video of him explaining the horrible conditions there. And also Jeff Frazier has a quote that I include in my YouTube documentary where he says basically what I just mentioned about the children needing to acquire some abortions. So some really heinous things have happened. And OUR claims one thing about the aftercare facilities and how much they need these funding, but it's either been embezzled or wasted in various ways, but real harm has been done. And I think about Kelly Suarez a lot as Tim has tried to tell this story and use her as a pawn to act like he's got one, he's got a bad one, he's got a sex trafficker, and he's acting like, yeah, we got them, we put them in this safe house in the Foyer de Sion, but they all, multiple children ended up being impregnated by the staff. So some really earth-shattering, hard revelations have come out while doing this kind of work. And I want to be able to tell these stories of these people and let victims know that we think about them and we care about them, all the way, from the women who have made all of these very serious allegations with evidence against him, but to the children and to the people in foreign countries who don't have the due process and they don't have the money or the lawyers to be able to have their voices heard. This podcast is also just dedicated to people like that Tim is maligned and harmed along the way. And all of this is just to say, he doesn't want you to know these stories because he wants you just to know that he's the hero and he's saved kids. He's wrapped everything in a nice, pretty bow. But, playing Rambo and doing vigilante shit, another Taylor Swift reference. I just keep weaving them in there. Doing vigilante shit like Tim Ballard has been doing, it causes a lot of harm in people's real lives. And those are the stories that I want to make sure are heard and shared, because it's a lot more than just Tim being a greedy monster. There's been a whole chasm of bodies and terrible stories that have happened along the way. So to all the victims of Tim, we think about you and we care about you. And people want to help this podcast keep going. Just keep watching, keep liking, and we will keep sharing more of this content as it comes out, because Tim is giving us a lot of content to work with. The narcissists are always very happy to be on camera and share even more things from their dirty, dirty past that indict themselves. So, Tim, this wasn't your best video. You sure did admit to a lot of stuff. And we're seeing right through it. So that's my final words and my final piece on that. Any parting words from you, Ryan?
No. Well said. Great summary. That's really what it's all about. I think I'll just end on the great comment that the trash is taking itself out in this video.
There you go. Thanks, Krista.
That made me laugh. Yeah, good one. Thanks, Krista. Virgo. Awesome.
All right.
That's it. Good stuff for today. A lot more to come. We'll bring you those. We're playing catch up with the amount of stuff that Tim is putting out there. So there's a lot more to cover in a couple of weeks on more. We'll get that to you.
Yes, we do, because Timmy did, this doesn't make any sense, but Timmy did what?